Instagram.
I'm vowed to be the nicest. On the mic and with rhyme writing, my mind states God cipher divine righteous. This is the sound of refinement. Extra time spent on every line written. You can hear the difference when I'm rhyming. The barbarian rap writings like Clash of the Titans. I wield the pen like Poseidon holding the golden triton. On the mic I strike faster than vipers and flashes of bolts of lightning. My poetry will leave the Pope enlightened. Whack rappers is past time, you paid the Pied Piper. As the price just skyrocket, I stand to make a profit. I rap circles and spirals above your favorite artist, like an identifiable flying object. With bars so far over your head, I'm honest to be rhyming in high orbit. If I dumb the metaphors down, you think the sky was falling. Rappers' arms too short to shadow box with the lords in the pantheon of rap. I'm the high exalted, the new God flow. Prepare your offering. I treat the booth like the synagogue, cause the mic's my calling. I should congregate a following, although agnostic. You felt the flow was God sent, further personifying my Messiah complex.
And this is Real Deal Sports Talk with KP, April 21st, 2019. Thanks for tuning in. It is a special Sunday show. We will have a Sunday show actually this coming week, as well as we'll get to that later, where we'll have a different Sunday show this week. But we got a special Sunday show today because yesterday I had prior engagements and I was not able to put out, an episode of the show. So I'm back today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Here we are. It's a good time of year if you're a sports fan. There's a lot going on out there. All four major sports are going. Two of the major sports are in their playoff stretches. One of the major sports is in their draft cycle. Another major sport has had a crazy, crazy start to the beginning of their season. It's been unbelievable what's been going on over on the baseball side of things. Before we get into that real quick, big announcement. Well, not big announcement, just an announcement. We are now on Instagram. You can follow us there at Real Deal KVP, similar to on our Twitter handle. So get that out there. But so far, back to Major League Baseball. The beginning of the Major League Baseball season has been, amazing. If you're not watching this baseball season, you are honestly missing out right now on some great storylines. Teams that we all thought were going to be killing it. Defending World Series champions that we expected to come back and put on another show like they did last year with all of the talent they had. Not getting it done. Tampa Bay Rays, first place in the American League East. Minnesota Twins, first place in the Central Division. Seattle Mariners right now quite possibly could be the best team in baseball in the AL West at 16-8. Had 20 straight games where they hit a home run, setting a record to start the season. Phillies, first place in the NL East with Bryce Harper. Him and his boys are here in Colorado right now. See if they get to play today with the different rainstorms that are supposed to be coming through. The Mets at 11-9. Pittsburgh leading the Central. Now, granted, Pittsburgh often does well early in the season, disappears. But they're leading the Central right now at 12-6. Above the team, the Milwaukee Brewers, who are killing it with Christian Yelich. And we're going to talk about him in a minute when we talk about stats. Cardinals are hanging in there. Central's going to be competitive throughout. Chicago Cubs, Nick Swisher just put out, he's got the Chicago Cubs as his number 3 team in all of baseball. They only have a 9-10 record. Will they be better than last year? Have they gotten over the World Series slouch, slump, let down? Because this looked like a team it was going to be built for years to come. They haven't quite produced since that World Series run. And then in the West, you've got the Dodgers with Cody Bellinger. Just raking. Triple Crown candidate through the first month of the season. I'd love to see him carry that throughout the entire season. Even if that means he gets the MVP and the hometown team, the Rockies, does not get a chance to win the division. They've started out extremely slow. Bunch of people had them as a World Series contender. They're only 8-13 on the season. Didn't hit the first few games. Started out on the road for the first 7. Started to get a little streak going. Lost last night in a close one to Philly. Padres getting it done. They're at 500 right now after their big acquisition in the offseason. This is a team, hey, on this show, I said, hey, great. You went and signed $300 million player. You've got Machado. It's not going to do anything for your team. You're still the Padres. So far early in the season, hey, they're better than the Rockies. They're better than the Giants. They're better than the Cubs, who, again, I just said, some people have them as one of the better teams in all of baseball. The home run numbers being put out, the strikeout numbers being put out, the way the Yankees are sitting at 500 with just about all of what we thought was going to be their roster injured. You've still got top players sitting out there on the market that have not even been signed. Guys that were Cy Young candidates in the last 2 or 3 years. Guys that led the league in saves and won World Series titles. Sitting out there, not getting signed. Early in the season, yes. Stereotype, yes. Cliche, of course. But that's what it is when you have 162 games. You have to come up with some kind of verbiage, some kind of jargon, some kind of something to say to get yourself through. Now, I grew up playing baseball. I love the sport. But honestly, 162 games is too much for me. I get really super interested in baseball into July, August, and September. Down the stretch, who's going to make maneuvers? Who's going to get called up? What are the playoffs like? That's when I start getting really interested. I'll go to a game. It's fun to be out in a game at this time of year. Sure. Sit out in the sun, have a couple cold pops. Take the fellas out there. Good times, for sure. The family, take them out. Enjoy the ballpark. But it's a long season, so you got to come up with ways to talk about it. Tim Anderson, there's something to talk about. He's leading the American League in batting average right now. He hits a home run the other day, gives an aggressive bat toss back towards his own dugout, not straight up in the air. Next time, he gets plunked, starts a little scuffle on the field. He decides to call somebody the N-word. Now he's been suspended. Okay, cut to Kyle Schwarber, disagreeing with the call. Cussing, calling names, didn't use the N-word, just as offensive. Nothing. What is the difference there? We're labeling one word offensive and allowing all the other words to be okay? Is it a race issue where we're still giving white privilege institutionally? Another topic for another show, but it's something to think about, and I saw it proposed this week. That's the only reason I bring it up. I'm following different stories on social media, and I see this idea brought up. What's the difference between the two? Both of them name-calling. Both of them foul language. One player gets suspended. The other player does not get anything. Maybe another topic for another show, but Tim Anderson having a great season at the plate. 422, leads all of baseball. Cody Bellinger, 407 for the National League. Cody Bellinger and Christian Yelich, those could, if they continue this streak, those two will be in contention for the National League MVP. Christian Yelich, again, multi-home run game, 13. Only 2 players in the history of baseball have had more home runs by May 1st than Christian Yelich does right now. Albert Pujols and Alex Rodriguez both hit 14 before May 1st. We still have 10 days before May 1st. So Christian Yelich could break that mark. Cody Bellinger could break that mark. He's sitting at 10. Chris Davis in the American League could break that mark. He's sitting at 10. Christian Yelich with 31 RBIs on the season in the first month so far. Cody Bellinger, 25. I mean, these guys are raking. Chris Davis, 20. Domingo Santana, 25. Just raking it. We've seen some great pitching performances. Marquez from Colorado, pitching with a tooth infection, almost getting a complete game shutout no-hitter. we've got, again, pitchers that we expected to see on rosters. Dallas Keuchel, not on rosters. AL earned run average, Tyler Glasnow, 1.13. Just dealing. You're not hitting him. You better hope somebody makes a mistake. You're going against him right now. Then on the National League side for Pittsburgh, Joe Musgrave, 0.81. Just go sit down. Again, you better hope he makes a mistake. Zach Davies, Milwaukee, 1.19. Dealing early in the season. Unbelievable numbers, unbelievable ball play that's being put down right now. I'm enjoying it. It makes the beginning of the season a lot more fun. Tapia for the Rockies with his inside the park home run last night. Didn't get him through, They ended up losing. But excitement keeps the fans in the seats, keeps that 162-game schedule going. Because face it, at some points, even for the top fans, even for the beat reporters, even for, the baseball diehard aficionados, it gets mundane. It gets boring. But right now, they're keeping it live. They're keeping it going. And it's exciting. It's good baseball. You got guys hitting the way they do. You got guys pitching the way they do. That makes for a fun time. So I suggest this summer, if you got time, get out to a ballpark. Watch a little bit. Enjoy the rest of the stadium if you need to. But watch some of this baseball that's going down. This is a fun, young group of baseball players. And they are revitalizing the game right now, in my opinion. Pujols passes Babe Ruth, the Sultan of SWAT, on the the all-time RBI list with none other than a home run last night. That's just fitting. You pass the Sultan of SWAT on the RBI list, you might as well do it with a home run. The only thing that would have made it better is if Pujols somehow kicked back, pointed with the bat, pulled a Babe Ruth, and then hit it outside after that. A lot of games going on right now in baseball. Maybe you're sitting around, you got your stuff done for the weekend, all your chores is done, all your little errands is done, the honey-do list is taken care of. So, check out a game. There's, 7, 8, 9, 10 games going on right now during the day today. You got more kicking off here just shortly. A lot of games to watch today as far as the baseball goes. Looks like, about 16 games going on today, right around there, maybe a little more. Last game of the day kicking off about 5 p.m. here Mountain Time, so 7 p.m. Eastern. That's the Braves and Indians later tonight. Here locally, Philadelphia and Colorado will be kicking off here in about 15 minutes. Weather permitting, of course. Other games underway right now. You got Arizona and Chicago. You've got the Mets and Cardinals. Who else is playing right now? Dodgers, Brewers, Red Sox, Rays, Giants, Pirates, Nationals, Marlins, White Sox, Tigers, and the Twins and Orioles all underway right now, with the Nationals and Marlins being the furthest along there in the top of the 7th. So a lot of baseball being played right now. If you got time, check it out. Baseball is good, It's a leisure. It's relaxed. It's laid back. What's not laid back is these NBA playoffs. And I want to get this out there first before we check in on all the series. The NBA players clearly have a Scott Foster problem. Okay, his name's continuously coming up. They're continually getting fined for talking about him after games. Yesterday, DeMar DeRozan, on what was a clear offensive foul, frustrated by the call or the non-call on the previous play, didn't agree with it, chucks the ball back in Foster's direction, gets himself teed and thrown out of the game. Not a good look, looked very immature, made him look, as a lot of people said, like a punk. But they have a problem with this ref. They have a problem with the way he's making or not making calls. And I've said it on this show time and time and time again, the referees are not part of the game. We need to find a way to employ these guys full time, get them enough training, and check their egos at the door and let them know it doesn't matter if the players get frustrated and yell at you. You can walk away. You are not part of the action. If you start taking it personal and make yourself part of the action and make yourself a guy who's out there causing controversy that the players and the coaches or the announcers or anybody else is having to focus on instead of the league and the sport, we will remove you because that's bad for business. You are there to officiate. You are not there to, interject your personal feelings, to interject the fact that you're pissed off at how a guy's talking to you. And it's clearly starting to affect the way these players are playing in the games he officiates. That's how I see it right now. We're going to see more of this to come. This story's going to develop. I think the league might address it with as many players that have talked about him in post-game press conferences and then subsequently been fined for that. So we might see something come out of that as far as where the league goes. Similar to that, KD and the player from the Clippers, they're talking to each other. There's no animosity. There's no heat. They're not going at it. They're not getting ready to push. They're not sizing each other up. No fists are clenched. And the referee tees them up because he doesn't like what they're saying to each other. That's not your conversation to be a part of. You can get involved when you see players trying to get heated, not when you see them just having a conversation and you think you hear something that might not be right, and then you interject yourself into a game and tee up players. That changes the aspect of the game. That changes the emotional flow of the game. No matter how focused a top athlete might be, that throws them off momentarily. And that's not necessary. You were not part of their conversation. It doesn't matter if you like the language they were using with each other. Your job is to interject when something aggressive is happening, when they're about to fight, when they've already thrown a punch, when there's been a foul, when the ball needs to be handed in. Tip off, when a whistle needs to be blown, the quarter's over. That's your job. Get back to that. Because I'm sick of it. The refs are not part of the game. They're not. It's not what their opinion is. Here's the rules of the game. You call the rules of the game. It's real simple. And if you can't do that, you need to find something else to be doing. All right. NBA playoff update time. Now that we got that hostility out of the way. All right, we're well underway into the playoffs. We're going to start on the East. We'll move our way through the West. And you got to say, the Milwaukee Pistons series, not really a surprise with the direction that it's going. Not really surprised that none of the games have been close. Yes, Blake Griffin's out. He did play in the first game. They still got blown out there. Milwaukee's going to finish this one off Monday, I believe. That's my opinion. I think they go ahead and sweep Detroit. They're the top four teams in the East. It really felt like their matchups with the bottom four teams in the East were more like warm-up playoff games as opposed to true playoff games because of the different level in these teams. I expect all four of the Eastern Conference top seeds to move on. Giannis is having a good series. All of Milwaukee's having a good series. Detroit's trying to put up a fight, but they just don't have enough. They don't. So I expect that one to end in 4 on Monday night. Check it out. TNT, 8 Eastern. Singleton's having a good. Bledsoe's having a good series. Toronto's come back. They've taken control of that series against Orlando. They had the hiccup in Game 1. They lost by 3. They came back in Game 2 and dominated. They came back in Game 3 and they won. They have Orlando today on TNT at 7 Eastern, 5 o'clock. There's a couple game, or let's see, Indiana-Boston's underway right now on ABC. They are in the fourth quarter. Indiana has a 1-point lead. Golden State and the Clippers. They play next here at 1:30 Mountain Time. Toronto-Orlando this evening at 5 Mountain Time. And then Portland-OKC Game 4, which everybody's looking forward to. That Lillard and Russ matchup starts out 7:30 Mountain Time. But Toronto's come back. Kawhi's quietly leading that season, or that series. He's a quiet leader. That's what he's going to do. Orlando just doesn't have enough. They're young. They've got a little bit of talent. No real nobody that scares you. Nobody that's going to jump off. Can they catch a team like they caught the Raptors? Sure. Could it happen again? Maybe. I doubt it. I would expect the Raptors to go ahead and wrap this one up. It looks like Tuesday after I expect them to win tonight. Then 76ers and Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets. That series is at 3-1 as Philadelphia takes the lead, a decisive lead yesterday. Even after the scuffle, that team, hey, they got sparked. They got sparked after that Game 1 loss. They've come back, and they're just putting it on the Nets right now. They're not playing a lot of defense. They really don't look like a championship contender, in my opinion. I do think they have some maturity issues on that team, some leadership issues on that team. But they're just talented enough that they're going to keep themselves in it. They're going to give whoever they have in the next round a run for it, whether that's one of these last 4 seeds in the East that manages to beat a top seed, or if they end up having to face Toronto. I think they're a pretty good matchup with Toronto. Toronto probably beats them in 6 or 7. But again, I'm expecting these top 4 seeds all to move on. Boston, they already have that 3-0 lead already on Indiana. And again, they're playing right now. It is a close one. Indiana's trying to avoid the sweep. They are over on ABC, and Indiana currently does have that 1-point lead, trying to avoid the sweep there to try and stay in that series. Does Indiana have the ability to come back and win 4 straight? Anything's possible. I mean, really, anything is possible. Is it likely to happen? No, it really isn't. Even if they manage to hold on in this one, I would expect the Celtics to go ahead and wrap it up in Boston on Wednesday if they don't get it today. Moving on to the West, like we said, Golden State and LA, they play next. Golden State leads that series 2-1. The Clippers got that game after the huge comeback, 31 points down, came back in Game 2, got that win 135-131. This has been a weird series. They lose DeMarcus Cousins. His quad rips, not going to require surgery. That's good. Not as bad as it looked in the pictures anyway. That's good. Clippers got their game. That's the one they're going to get. I don't see them getting another one. The Golden State's kind of like, okay, you got us. We weren't on our game. We let Patrick Beverley show us up. But now we're going to go ahead and do what we do. We're going to go ahead and be Golden State. We're going to go ahead and be Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. We're going to go ahead and do what we've been doing the last 4 years, and we're going to go ahead and end this series. I expect them to win tonight at the Clippers and then finish it off Wednesday in Golden State. Win this one 4-1. Clippers will fight. They're not going to go away. They're not going to give up. That's not the makeup of that team. That's not who Doc Rivers has coached them to be. That's not who Patrick Beverley will let them be. But they also, face it, it's Golden State. You're not going to catch them 3 more times in this series without some kind of superstar talent on your team. And right now, the Clippers do not have that. Nuggets San Antonio series. Nuggets find a way to get into a game. They actually shoot okay in this series. 1 game. They play a complete game. They found themselves down by double digits twice in this game. At least twice in this game. Found a way to come back through the second and third quarter. They went on a big run. They got themselves a little bit of a lead. They started building on that lead a little bit. And with about 4 minutes left in the game, Popovich went to his reserves, went to his backups, went to his bench. DeRozan had been kicked out. And Denver, they don't look prepared. They look mentally unstable compared to the Spurs. Now, yeah, a lot of these Spurs players have not been around the whole time with Pop. A lot of them, I think Mills is the only one that goes back to the Duncan, Ginobili, Parker days. Maybe Aldridge came around right at the end of that, maybe a year with all 3 of those guys. Not sure if Aldridge was ever on a team with all three of them. If it was only a year or two. I know Mills played with him and won some championships, but by and far, a lot of these guys right now have not spent a lot of time with Pops in the playoffs, even though he's now, 22 years straight. But the thing is, all of that experience lets him know how to coach his team. He talks about having two teams. He's got the transition team that can run and get up and down the floor, and he's got that half-court ISO team. And he loves having that ability to switch it up and use them where he needs to, depending on how the game is playing out. He also knows when to push, when to let one go, when one is out of hand, because these are 7-game series. Now, Denver's got a 2-2 tie. They are the 2 seed. The San Antonio Spurs are the 7th seed. The San Antonio Spurs, by and far, look like the better team in this series. Now, I took Denver to win this series. This series is coming back to Denver Tuesday night, and Denver needs to get that win. They need to have that 3-2 series lead going back to San Antonio, put that in that young team's mind that they could be eliminated. Now, I had the series going 6 or 7. I still see it going, obviously, 6 or 7 games. Nobody can win it in 5. More than likely, this series does go 7 games. And San Antonio, if it comes down to it, and it comes down to coaching, as good as Mike Malone has been with this Nuggets team, San Antonio has a very clear edge in playoff coaching and playoff basketball with Greg Popovich. That's why the Nuggets have to win Tuesday night in Denver, have that lead, knowing they only need to win 1 more and not 2 more games to move on in the playoffs. Portland, OKC, this has been a great series. These two teams like competing against each other. I know it seems like they don't like each other, but these two teams enjoy competing against each other. Portland got swept by this team in the regular season, 4-0. Most of them were double-digit wins, and they've taken that personally. They're going to take personally Paul George doing that reverse dunk at the end of Game 3. And for me, I wouldn't take it personal, because that's a team that's taking a breath of air. They finally got that playoff victory. They feel like, it's an exhale. We're just getting it out at the end. We're not trying to rub in the score in any way, but that was just a release of frustration. Here we are. We're going to win. Time is running out. Zeros are on the clock pretty much. Let me get this frustration, power, double pump dunk in for the fans. No big deal. Whatever. If that's going to be motivation for Portland, great. Use it. Use whatever you can at this time of the year to give your team that advantage. But you've got 2 leaders on these teams in Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook that they're out there to show who's the best, who's going to run it, who's going to have it. And this is one if I can, I'm going to be watching this one tonight. This is must-see TV. I would love for this series to go 7. I would love for Portland not to get a 3-1 lead. Because if it goes 7 after a 3-1 lead, that means, the Thunder really weren't in it the whole time. If the Thunder can pull it off here, going back to Portland on Tuesday, then it becomes more interesting. There's more stuff to talk about, and that would have meant that tonight's game was equally as entertaining as Friday night's game. Now, I picked OKC. This was the one upset that I picked series-wise, ranking-wise, playoff-wise, out of either side, East or West. I did pick OKC because they swept them in the regular season to win this series. At this point, in my opinion, if OKC wins it, it's going to go 6 or 7 games. Has to. Probably 7 games. Because I don't see the Thunder going 3 straight. To win this one right now. It's just too close. These two teams are too competitive, too evenly matched, similar kind of games. Fun basketball. Good basketball. And the Jazz, they gave it everything they had last night, even though they shot poorly. Donovan Mitchell, 34 points, but shot horrible from the field. James Harden was horrible from the field, still ended up with 20-something points. Just bad shooting, high effort, a lot of defense, a lot of acting by James Harden. It's the one thing I can't stand about his game is the acting and the flopping. He used that Euro step to perfection. The rest of the league took it on. You can see he kind of uses it now. Every now and then he brings it out, but it's not his main thing as much as it used to be. But the acting and the flopping, the one where there's two, and they've been viral images, but Donovan Mitchell's kind of getting in front of him, and he's already squinting and moving his face, and he's barely getting touched, but he was already acting like he's getting blown up. And then another one, Ingles walks by or runs by him, and maybe makes contact, maybe, but he acts like he got a full MMA elbow to the throat. Come on, we don't need all the acting. It's the boy who cried wolf syndrome. You're going to go out there, and one of these times you're actually going to get busted. You might not be able to even talk because you got an elbow to the throat, and nobody's going to check on you because they're so used to you flailing around and flopping. I just can't stand that about his game. He's too talented of an offensive player for that to still be part of his game. Now, the Rockets, I think they wrap this series up in Utah on Monday. I think they get the sweep here. Just not a good matchup for Utah. Had Utah fallen against the Nuggets, I think that would be a much better matchup for them. Had they fallen against Portland, I think that would have been a better matchup. But they just don't have the firepower to stay with a Houston team overall in the playoffs. If Houston doesn't wrap it up Monday, I definitely would expect them to wrap it up Wednesday in Houston. So, hey, NBA playoffs, they're fun right now. You got to check them out. If you got time, hit Reddit, NBA streams, check out the free streams. They're always on there. Run your malware afterwards. Make sure you're good. No big deal. Oh, NHL update. Let's get to that real quick. I'll tell you where all the series are at, because face it, I'm not a hockey expert. I do enjoy watching hockey live. I enjoy playoff hockey more than any other hockey. And there's been some upsets, face it, in the first round. Tampa Bay, they've been eliminated by the Columbus Blue Jackets. As the Blue Jackets win 4 straight games, really the Lightning weren't in any of them. A little bit embarrassing. Let's see, Maple Leafs and Bruins series. That one, Maple Leafs are up 3-2. They play today here. I think they probably just started or getting ready to start any minute over on NBC. So Maple Leafs have the ability to move on today. Capitals and Hurricanes, they played yesterday. That was the part of the game that I did watch was very entertaining. Capitals ended up winning 6-0. They run that series right now. 3 games to do. Play again on Monday. Islanders and Penguins. Islanders sweep this series, knocking the Penguins out. And really, the Penguins, outside of that overtime game in Game 1, they looked outmatched the entire series. In the Western Conference, the Predators and Stars. The Stars win yesterday to take the 3-2 lead as they win 5-2 yesterday. They play again Monday with the chance to put that series away and move forward. The Jets taking on the Blues. The Blues win that series 4-2. Jets, they made it competitive. They took one to overtime. Games 5 and 6 were within 1 game. Games 1 and 2 were all within 1 score. So that one was good there. And the 8th seed Colorado Avalanche pulled the biggest upset of the playoffs so far in the NHL as they beat the number 1 seed Calgary Flames 4-1 and just whooped that ass in Game 5, putting up 5-1 on the Flames. They looked defeated from the jump. They looked like they had nothing left and they had given up. That's a testament to that young Avalanche team. They're getting hot at the right time. They're playing good at the right time. Cale Marker came up at the right time. Who knows? You get on the right run. You have a couple things go your way. All of a sudden, you find yourself in a championship, and you're playing with confidence. You're playing fast. You're playing free. Nobody expected you to be there. You never know what could happen. You never know. And then San Jose and Vegas. Vegas is up 3-2 in that series. They also play today with a chance to wrap up that series and move on to play Colorado. I was actually telling a buddy of mine, a guy where I was at yesterday for a Spreester event, celebration of spring, not necessarily Easter, but spring altogether. And I made the mistake of saying that the Avalanche were going to play Columbus. Now, hockey fans, I apologize wholeheartedly. They're not in the same conference. They would not play each other until the NHL Finals. It was a huge mistake on my part. I had misquoted something that I had read about both of them moving on, and my mind twisted that into they were moving on to play each other. So, let me just apologize to the diehard hockey fans. That was a mistake. Marcus, my man, the Avalanche will not be playing Columbus in the next round. They will either be playing Vegas or San Jose. All right, end of the show. Last little thing we got to get to before we are out of here today. It is draft week. The broadcasting schedule, they will be on NFL Network, ABC, ESPN, ESPN Deportes, mobile carriers, CTV, NFL, ESPN, NFL.com, ABCGo.com, ESPN.com. Live broadcast schedule starting Thursday, April 25th, starts at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for day one. That'll be round one. Day two on Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, rounds 2 and 3. Saturday, April 27th at noon Eastern Time, we will start rounds 4 through 7. Personally, I will be doing a Facebook Live recap reaction to round 1 after the first round of the draft on Thursday. We will have a Sunday draft recap show where I'll kind of break down the draft as I see it, who did well, who didn't do well. There is a good 7-round mock draft out there right now on NFL.com that Chad Rutter did. Interesting. It takes a lot of work to do a 7-round mock draft. I did a 1-round mock draft for the entire league and a 7-round mock just for the Lions, and it's a lot harder than you would think. So check out Chad Rutter's. Mock drafts are coming to an end. That's the end of the show. Enjoy the sports. Get at me, realdealsportstalkwithkp.com. You can get at KP through the link about halfway through the page. You can get access to different things, our partners of the show, things like that. Until next time, you know how we do. Just be real.
Yo, Denver City life living every night getting it. All I see is green like it's night vision. My sight's different. My type driven. These niggas risking a life sittings over white flipping, but I ain't with it. I'm light skinned it. My mind gifted, intelligence in my disposition, aristocratic image, and not to mention I'm nice with it. The ice drip over cardigan sweaters, tight fitting, white linen. This is the type of shit that entice women. The fly shit that I'm on is passing the sky's limits. Why it's not surprising to see that all of these guys live it. I vivid, solemnly swear the rhyme exquisite with the time I'm giving. My mind flying, defying physics. I stay smooth like sipping out of champagne flutes. Always way cool, but it ain't a thing, just a flame cruise. You lame dudes, this that shit that you can't do. That's why your main boo steady watching me how I make moves.
My hot city life got me way above the clouds. Paint the audience a picture every time I draw a crowd. I hold my weight with these bars, so make no mistake. I get to cooking like Chef Curry in Golden State. I'm motivated, I'm taking off, moving vertically. Saying that they were seeing me lyrically, that's absurd to me. Virtually murdering MCs on purpose. Cutting their body parts into pieces is verbal surgery. You say you hot, but you ain't burning to the 3rd degree. Time to bring some urgency in the state of emergency. There's no comparison to us, that's way embarrassing. Making something from nothing like ancient Native Americans. Man, listen, I'm undergoing a transition. My transmissions are filled with nothing but ambition. No remorse on these rappers like a Roman force. Snuck into the game on these suckers inside the Trojan horse.
No remorse on these rappers like a Roman force. Snuck into the game on these suckers inside the Trojan horse. No remorse on these rappers like a Roman force. Snuck into the game on these suckers inside.